Antique marble bust of Homer plus 5 things you need to know about Homer. And there he is, an antique marble bust of Homer, the Greek philosopher and poet. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him and what he's worth in today's market. So let me know if you get anywhere near my valuation. So this is a rather good late 19th century marble bust of Homer. So he's around 120 years old. And the first thing you need to know about Homer, number one, is that Homer is around 3,000 years old. So this was made about 3,000 years after Homer's life. And we can only guess at when he lived, but he lived between 1200 BC and 800 BC. So number one, the first interesting thing to know about Homer is Homer lived around 3,000 years ago. The second thing you need to know about Homer is that he wrote poetry and stories all about an idealized version of Greek life. And each story is bulging with moral lessons, Greek moral lessons, focusing on heroism, bravery, pride and honor. Yes, an idealized version of Greek living, and it's something that the West really clung on to. And his writings, Homer's writings, have influenced Western literature ever since. So there is number two. Let's move on to number three. He was a clever guy. Homer wrote the two classic and epic tales, the Iliad and the Odyssey, both all about the Trojan War during and just after. Now, you don't need to know a great deal about the Iliad or the Odyssey. I mean, you can read that separately. All you need to know is that Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. The fourth thing you need to know is that Homer was a real mystery, and just by saying that at a party will make you seem like you know an awful lot more about Homer than you actually do. And he's thought of as being a mystery because some academics believe that Homer wasn't just one person. They believe that Homer was a group of people writing. So there's lots of arguments about Homer. You know, they don't know exactly when he was born. They certainly don't know how long he lived for, and they don't know where he was born. But just say, if you get a bit stuck in your conversation about Homer, wow, wasn't Homer a great mystery? The fifth and final thing you need to know about Homer, and quite possibly this is the most interesting, or rather the thing that will make you sound the most interesting, is this. Homer, the Greek philosopher, was blind. He was described as, remember this, the blind bard or the blind poet. Now, if you take a look at my classic marble sculpture here of Homer, you'll see that he doesn't have any pupils in his eyes. And you're probably thinking, that's how I can tell it's Homer. Well, this isn't how I can tell it's Homer. Funnily enough, it isn't. It's Homer because it just looks like Homer. That's the way it is. The reason he doesn't have any pupils is simple, that the ancient Greek and Roman sculptors rarely depicted their busts, their eyes, with pupils. And the simple reason for that is this, that originally 3,000, 2,000 years ago when these things were made, they were not to be seen in the white like this. They were carved and then painted. So Homer, 3,000 years ago, would have had a coloured beard, a skin tone, coloured hair, jewellery, clothing. They were painted, including the eye pupils. But over the very many centuries, paint has worn away and then finally been rubbed away. And this is now how we view ancient sculptures, but it isn't a bit like how the ancients viewed their sculptures. They were much more colourful. Which is why my lovely Homer here, being made around 120 years ago, was carved faithfully as the original without pupils. So there you have it, 5 things you need to know about Homer so you can hold a conversation with anybody, well, almost anybody. Now, what about value? So back onto my marble piece here. He is colossally heavy. He's one chunk of marble. He is very good quality, 1890, 1900 in date. What's he worth in today's market? Well, tell me if you get anywhere near this valuation. This Homer is worth £1,200. Thanks for watching. Say goodbye, Homer.